Alexa, play WVON 1690 AM.
Getting WVON 1690 AM station from iHeartRadio.
Try it out for yourself. America is listening to WVON.
The views expressed on our programs are not necessarily those of WVON, Midway Broadcasting Corporation, or our participating sponsors.
The following is paid programming. The views are not necessarily those of this station. We are the talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Good evening. Do not attempt to adjust your rhythm.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Come on. Ain't nothing wrong with your radio. Nothing. Not a thing. Deontay.
Better known as We Funk or Deepest.
That's right. Come on.
Connection. Home of the extraterrestrial brothers.
WVON 1690, the talk of Chicago. All right, brothers and sisters, we are back on Straight Words on WVON. Third hour. It's going to be another hot hour. Our special guest, Dr. Ricky L. Jones, is hanging with us for another hour to take your phone calls and give us some more insights on the election and talking about black people being hope addicts. We're trying to get out of that bag of being a hope addict. We need some realistic alternatives so we can live in 2025 the right way. You know what I'm saying? Brother Naba'a Richard Muhammad is our host, editor-in-chief of the Final Call newspaper. Of course, our great brother, who's a former editor, James G. Muhammad, is on. I'm Brother BJ, and we got a list of callers, Brother Naba'a. So how do you want to get into this hour? It's on you, big bro.
Well, I just want to say, the bigger the headache, the bigger the pill. And this doctor ain't even going to send you no bill. He ain't even going to send you no bill, man. Let's go to the call.
Free, right? All right. Well, let's go to, let's see. Let's go to Art. Art, go ahead, brother. Art is on. We'll go to Brian, then we'll go to Floyd. And we got Sister Tawan is on as well. So, Art, go right ahead. You're on WVON with Dr. Ricky L. Jones.
Yes, sir. A couple of quick questions. How are you brothers doing, first of all?
Doing good.
How about God's grace? Good. Here's 2 or 3 quick questions for the brother. How is it, since white supremacy is throughout America, that Spanish people are able to come over, don't speak the language, start pretty much with zero, and in 40 years, they have amassed enough wealth, property, and resources, not even speaking the English, and being primarily hated by pretty much everybody, and they are able to be successful in their community. Chinese people on 22nd Street, they're able to be successful. And then you have people, some they're able to make it through racism, and they're able to go to school, get a decent education, raise their family, and they're the potent takers, the preachers, the teachers, the so-called leaders. They're able to make it through racism. And why the poor and the ignorant, from that perspective, why are they unable to make it? And I'll hang up and listen to your response on that.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Brother Art.
All right. Viewers, thank you for the questions, brother, because I think they're serious questions about how do other minorities progress and black people do not. I think there are a few points to make. One, all of those minorities don't progress as much as others, right? Some black people, depending on how we measure success, are very successful individually. But I do think it bears noting that those minorities, one, have not been here as long and have not been under attack as long. I think that black people, in effect, are victims of America's second sin. America's original sin was what they did to the Native Americans, almost eviscerated that population of people. But the second sin was American slavery. And I'm not saying African slavery, American slavery. And I don't think that any hatred in this country runs as deep as the hatred of black people then and now. That's 2. 3, even when you talk about the culture of those minorities being relatively intact, where our culture has been fractured because we've been subjected to white supremacist attacks longer, you still have not seen Hispanic brothers and sisters trump white supremacy. You haven't seen Chinese Americans trump white supremacy. White supremacy still reigns supreme. They just seem a little bit more successful at some junctures than we do. But I don't think they have been attacked as viciously as we have been. But I want to take this time right now, too, to go back to Brother Randy's original questions for just a second. As you see the attacks around the country on, because what he's really talking about is an educational project. And we need more educational projects, which is something we talked about earlier in the conversation. So for me here, one thing that I do outside, it's tethered to the University of Louisville, but I'm a scholar in residence at a research institute. And I started a thing called the Baldwin King Project. I'm the Baldwin King Scholar in Residence at the Christina Lee Brown Environment Institute. That's James Baldwin, Martin Luther King Jr. But one big thing that I do is I'm always having sessions. Some people might call them lectures. Some people might call them panels. But they're really educational sessions totally dedicated to the Black experience, Black history, Black problems, Black possibilities. Not saying that we have all the answers. I don't have all the answers, but we're having the conversation. Whenever we become so arrogant that we have all the answers, then we're dangerous. But we're seeing different iterations of this happen in different places, and we need to figure out where they are. Down in my hometown of Atlanta, one of my college buddies, he's an attorney, Brother Mawuli Davis. He and some of his friends, but he's from Chicago, ironically. They do a thing called Black Man Lab. Now, this is a Herculean effort from him and my friend Marty Monaghan. They meet every Monday of the year, all right? They never take a Monday off over at the YMCA over on Campbellton Road for listeners in Atlanta. And they discuss issues from politics to history to economics to psychology to love to everything, right, that has to do with Black men. It is a beautiful thing. And we got to try to lock arms and replicate all of these things, replicate them, as Brother was talking about, and do all of them, certainly on what we claim as our own sacred days. I agree. I think Minister Farrakhan's birthday should be a sacred day. If I'm not mistaken, it's sometime in May. Sacred day.
Right.
Right? Marcus Garvey's birthday, sacred day. Ida B. Wells Barnett, sacred day. I mean, because some of the stuff, the way they bastardized and commercialized Juneteenth, I mean, you can't tell me that's sacred no more. And some of the stuff you see happening in Black History Month isn't really sacred anymore. And we need to take a lot of that stuff back. But, you know, and maybe he's listening tonight. I have to apologize to Brother Abner Muhammad, because he has reached out and we are talking about connecting to really build an educational project. You know, I'm not ashamed to be loved by brothers in the nation, man. You know, and I love them back. And as we can cross-pollinate, as we can cross-pollinate and do that, I think it means a lot. So some of these model minorities, they're not doing as well as you might think, even though they may be doing better in certain ways than Black people, because I firmly believe that no group of people has been as hated or attacked as much as Black people. They just haven't.
You know, Doc, I wanted to add something, because I think sometimes things are spoken, but it's not actual facts. It's myths. Let me give you some actual facts. Among Latinos, there are higher rates of them being uninsured than any other racial or ethnic groups. They have higher levels of obesity, higher levels of uncontrolled blood pressure and diabetes. Latinos are more likely to be hospitalized or to die from COVID-19 than whites. On wealth and income, Latinos have a lower weekly earnings than white workers. Latino-owned assets are also worth less than white-owned assets. Discrimination. in healthcare. 20% of Latinos said they experienced discrimination in hospitalizations, and 17% avoid seeking healthcare because of it. 33% of Latinos reported experiencing discrimination when applying for jobs. 32% report experiencing discrimination when seeking equal pay or promotions. 31% of Latinos report discrimination in housing. 27% of Latinos experience discrimination in policing. And half of Latinos said they experienced some kind of discrimination during the first year. During the first year of the pandemic. And that information is coming from the Latino Hispanic Office of Minority Health from Health and Human Services, and LULAC Health, which is of course the Latino group. Latino health disparities. But wait, I'm not finished. we got to be clear on some stuff. Right now, Latino youth are 16% more likely to be incarcerated than their white peers. A sharp improvement over the decade. Now check that out. That's an improvement. Just to be only 16% more incarcerated. For a decade, incarceration disparities between white and Latino youth have fallen, though disparities remain. That's from the Sentencing Project. Let me go to LULAC again, and let's talk a little bit more about this prison thing. Let's get into the actual facts over here.
God, you're dropping it, brother.
We don't need to come with myths, man.
Right.
We don't need to come with myths, man. Not at all. So let's start right here. 56% of Latinos have had contact with the criminal justice system firsthand or have a close family member that has. 44% of Latinos are more likely to be convicted than whites when convicted of property crimes. 53% of Latinos are more likely to be convicted than whites of drug crimes. In cases of robbery, aggravated assault, simple assault, they were less likely to result in arrests when Hispanics were the victims. In other words, let them hurt each other, than when white non-Hispanics were the victims. 31% of Hispanics live below the poverty line compared to 13.5% of the general population. Latinos have the highest high school dropout rate when compared to white, Asians, and blacks. Latinos are less likely to be released on their own recognizant. Only 33% of Latinos were able to post bail when given that opportunity. But wait, there's more now. Let's talk about the lynchings of Mexicans in particular in America. Did you know that? Did you know that at least 100 Mexican Americans were lynched in the United States during the 1910s, many in Texas? This violence was part of a period of anti-Mexican violence in Texas known as La Matanza, or the massacre. The violence was committed by Anglo-Texan vigilantes and law enforcement, such as the Texas Rangers. The violence was justified by racism and was a response to the increasing conflict between Mexican and Tejano insurgents in the United States. You need to learn something about the struggle of Latino farm workers in this country and Cesar Chavez and them being mishandled and mistreated and abused. That ain't stopped. You know why a lot of them come in here? Because these companies in America are advertising for them to come here so that they can use them just like they use But wait, I just want to get to a couple more, man. I just want because
does somebody have a towel over there?
We
wipe that brother down.
Man, we really need to understand, man. And so what we see, or what we think we see. Now, we're in Chicago. Plenty of Latinos killing each other every weekend. Huh? Remember the little Latino boy that was shot to death by a Chicago police officer? He ran from the cop, threw away a gun, and faced the cop, and the cop shot him to death. Did you forget that one? So let's not overstate the case. Because if you ask Latinos, are you equal in America, they ain't going to say yes if they got any sense. The other thing is, remember this, Latinos can be white or black. Remember that. We're not even going to mention Latinos, excuse me, in the school to prison pipeline, just like blacks. I'm not going to mention that. Because there's a bunch of other stuff. I was looking for one more thing, man. I guess I can't find it. But it was talking about, I think they said like 1 in 6 Latino men have been incarcerated at some time in their life. Let's not overstate the case. And the fact that some of them can come and progress over us, that's not a sign that white supremacy doesn't exist. It's a sign that it does exist, and we are the worst hated. That's why we need to love ourselves.
That's right.
That's why we need to maximize our cultural unity. And we need to get to work on what we're doing. But brothers and sisters, you know, Pilsen and these other places that have been in Chicago, that have been bastions of Latino heritage, Mexican American, Puerto Rican. Look up the Zoot Suit riots. Check that out. Look that up. Zoot Suit riots. See what you learn. So I'm gonna close on this point. No one is hated more than black people in this country.
That's right.
That doesn't mean others ain't hated now, because they hated too. And they would love for us to think we're all different. But right. No. I wouldn't point to Latinos as an example that white hatred or white supremacy don't exist. Sorry about that, brothers, but just some facts and I hope I gave you enough sources. The last information also came from LULAC, which is the Latino group that fights for Latino rights. And we can keep going. Who else we got?
Callers. Yeah.
Incredible, brother. Incredible. I hope callers, I hope listeners understand what's going on right now. And, you know, it's going on every Tuesday with Straight Words. You got a jewel in Chicago. This Straight Words is what I'm talking about. It is an example of a black educational project, right? Because I would imagine that every Tuesday you are talking about issues that impact the black community, one, and talking about them in a mature way and doing what was just done as people have a perception about what's going on in the Latino community. And a lot of folks don't even know what the Latino community is. They think all Latinos are Mexicans. That is a global community from so many different places with so many shades. And so we need to understand that. But this is an educational project, right? Just like Black Man Lab in Atlanta, just like the Baldwin King Project here. And what happens when you get Straight Words, Baldwin King, Black Man Lab, things that are going on in D.C., in Baltimore, in Oakland, and we start coming together under one banner and really pushing serious education for our people who've been so miseducated. That was a beautiful rundown of facts, brother. Beautiful rundown of facts. It was more professorial than I ever could be. I hope somebody got a towel again over there. Wipe that brother down, because I know
Walmart hot.
Well, doctor, I could never be more professorial than you.
Oh, it was beautiful.
You know, I'm trying. You know what I mean? I'm trying.
You are succeeding, brother.
Y'all brothers want to go take another call? I think Floyd Ellis Sr. has been holding on. He wants to get in the conversation on Straight Words, WVON 1690, the Talk of Chicago. We got Dr. Ricky L. Jones from Louisville University. He's here talking about, the issues that we talk about. Go ahead, Brother Floyd.
Hey, how you doing?
All right, sir.
All right, I enjoy y'all show, and again, that's me. And I want to say a couple things. I think that our black race are really not focusing in on what they're doing. First of all, the double standards. It's like they are trying to get us to practice these double standards. And me, I follow the word of God. God says that a double-minded man is an unstable man. Now, if they can influence a race to start going by these double standards, then they are trying to make this race unstable. And we need to stay with the word of God and get out of all this double-minded standard, because it's confusing a lot of us. And one caller said something that made sense. They said that if you shame them, then you may begin to get to them. But I'm dealing with something, and I think a lot of people know about it, and they're trying to keep me hid. But I'm getting ready to get out there so people can see me for what I am, and they will begin to get the shame. And that's why they hide me, because they know that they lied all the time. I'm gonna cut that short, and I'm gonna keep listening to your show. I don't want to hold the flow too long, but they're trying to destabilize our race. I don't get off into double standards, because to me, I listen to God. God is an unchanging God, and He goes one way. And that's all I got to say. And I'm gonna keep listening to y'all show, man.
All right, thank you, brother Brian.
Thank you,
Brian. You're on WVON 1690, the Talk of Chicago. Go right ahead.
Thank you, gentlemen. Great show. It's baffling, when you think about it. I don't know, and I know you brothers are Muslim, and everybody believes. But I mean, just listening to the brothers, I wonder, the whole religious thing, God gonna save me, and I'm following. I'm wondering. I hear that so much now. I think it's like a cop out, like a placebo. I mean, God ain't come to our help thus far, when we've been hung and burned. And so to set it out there as though faith is beautiful, but it's not. To move on. I'm not criticizing anybody's thinking or ideas. I just wanted to comment on that. And I just have a question. It's kind of irony, hypothetical. What's going to happen now with all this right-wing Ku Klux Klan activity returning, when these white folks start calling black folks niggers again? What's that going to do for us, who've been embracing this word of endearment and using it in every sentence? That's just a question I throw out there. Another thing, and this may seem white supremacy. I personally object to the word white supremacy, that is supremacy. And you all being religious people, supreme, I prefer hegemony. The ruling class. Supremacy is a little heavy. I can't go with them being supreme. They're the rulers. And I think that we need to get that clear, that they are the hegemonists.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to just point out.
So, brother, we got to move on. We got a couple more callers.
Okay,
though,
may I just say one other thing?
Yeah, real quick, bro. Real quick.
I'm proposing, and I mentioned it to a couple of people on the radio. I'm proposing something that we are all empowered to do and carry out, and that is a day, 24 hours of no crime in Chicago, black people. This would be something if we could put, everybody could do it. Don't cost no money, no politics. If you're going to kill your brother, kill him the next day, the day before, just see if we can come to that. What you were talking about, Dr. Jones was talking about the education. He's right on the money. But the thing is, we haven't seen, I'm 78 years old. I've seen a lot. I was involved in the revolution in the 60s. I was active. We haven't seen that. These politicians don't know nothing but timing, and they've been misinformed. We send our people to the enemy. Nobody else sends their people to the enemy to be educated. That's what happens when you don't have, and politicians can't back us up. And one other, this whole issue really is not about hate or loving. It's about population. And our strength is the fact, here's our strength, my brother, as I say. The fact that somebody is trying to destroy you to this extent of what people have done to us, therein lies your power. They didn't try to destroy the horse or the mule. They fed him, treated him well. He worked for them. We took the most dishonorable white people, that is the downtrodden, and made them the wealthiest and the most important white people. They can't hate you. They cannot hate you. It's not about hate. It's about population, and rightly so. All we can
we
do.
Gotta go. We got to run, Brother Brian. You dropping so many jewels, bro. Let us pick them up and put it in our basket and give you some answers, brother. Thank you for calling, Brother Brian. Thank you so much, bro. You go ahead and chime in, big brothers.
Yeah, well, a few things.
If the doctor wants to, he should get in. I don't have nothing to say. I'm gonna let it go.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, well, a couple things. I mean, the first thing, brother said, I think it has to be addressed because we hear it a lot. For those of us who are believers, sometimes we tag we sit around and we pray for God to come intervene and do everything for us, and that's it. That's actually not what true men of God like us do. I mean, you certainly have a belief, but that doesn't mean that you're not active. God teaches us to be active. He's endowed us with the ability to act and change our reality, and certainly we do that. I'm trying to go back. Brother said he's not comfortable with the term white supremacist. I'm not going to get caught up in semantics. If you want to talk about hegemony just means the domination of one group over another, which is supremacy. So if you want to call them hegemonists, okay, that's fine by me too. That doesn't really matter. So we can go ahead and get other brothers and sisters who are calling in, brothers.
All right, Sister Taiwan, you're on WVON. Go ahead, bro.
Sister Juan is a sister. Brother, go ahead.
Okay, Sister Taiwan, go right ahead and talk to us. Go ahead, Sister.
Well, Assalamu alaikum, family. I'm so grateful to be. I'm so grateful you have Brother Dr. Ricky Jones on the program, and the fact that he knows what a beautiful platform this is. And Dr. Jones, I'm like you. I'm telling everybody to get on this program always. I think I missed two since they've been on. But I just want to say real quick, when I heard you, it wasn't like in a day or so. It may have been later when I heard you on a program, talk show, and you talked about that hope addiction, and I was just screaming because I had watched the RNC and the DNC silent on mute. And I kept calling everybody saying, look, watch this stuff on mute. Turn it on. Watch it on mute. And they were like, you're crazy. But no, when I watched it on mute, I thought I was looking at a tent revival. That's what it looked like to me. And see, there used to be 2 news programs, Megahertz News and no commentary news. They took them off, but those are the news I watched, and there was no talking heads. They showed you the news, the bodies, the people standing in the middle of them, and whatever they rolled down here, whatever it was, they showed it to you with no commentary. And I received so much from those news programs, and I watch them. They show news from all over the world. But Dr. Jones, I really wanted to say thank you so much for being you. And I was like, that's my brother right there. When I heard you speak, and you were I think you were on a Christian talk show, and I just said, listen to my brother. And you were not giving them no cut cards. It was just straight. And I so appreciate it. And it was so refreshing to hear someone other than my brothers with the name Muhammad, okay? Speak like that.
Peace. Thank you,
Thank you all.
Thank you all so much. This is right, though, brothers. You know, when you talk about the conventions, like a lot of politics, those are just productions, man. I mean, they're just productions. They don't really have very much substance. And I tell my students all the time, I'm like, as you look at political shows, conventions, debates, all of these things, I always want you to do a content analysis. If you're concerned about the well-being of black people, pay attention to how many times black people are mentioned. And there's any conversation about black people that is substantive. And so I had my students listen to the presidential debate between Kamala Harris and Trump with that content analysis assignment in mind. Black people were not mentioned. No substantive issues about black people were ever mentioned during that debate. And so when you listen differently, you come out with different responses. And I want to let the audience know, because people have said, this hope addict thing. I'm not telling black people, brothers, to not have hope, okay? I'm not telling them to not have hope. I'm really telling them to not do what brother accused us and others like us of doing, of just having hope with no plan, no strategy, no action, and not have hope in people who don't have your best interest at heart, and not have hope in folks that you've been so miseducated that you can't see that they're not on your side, even if they look like you. So let's go on to other callers if we got any left.
Yes, sir. All right, we got Elizabeth on. You're on WVON 1690, the Talk of Chicago. Straight Words, Dr. Ricky L. Jones is on. Go right ahead, Elizabeth.
How are you? Thanks for taking my call. I appreciate your conversation. It's very educational. And Brother Art asked the question, and I didn't hear the answer to the question, how can some of us that some of the other communities are striving, and some of us are striving, the preachers, the popes, the ministers, can strive in the world that have all this racism, but they still striving, but a lot of the poor people is not striving up under the same conditions. So I didn't hear, that's paraphrasing what he asked, so I didn't hear the answer to that. I mean, you gave a lot of... you gave a lot of information, which was very good knowledge. I do appreciate it, but I didn't hear the answer to the question. So thank you for taking my call, and I'm listening.
Thank you, sister, for calling. Brother Art asked a couple questions, and one of the questions that he asked was, how could these communities thrive, Latinos in particular? So I gave the actual facts about conditions they face. Now, in terms of how some black folks thrive, and pastors and leaders, whatever, I can't speak to them. I can speak to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. He thrives because he don't believe in no white God. He don't believe in no white Jesus. He believes in the black revolutionary Messiah. So he don't need white support to live well. He don't need to be going from hand to mouth, because then Negroes would be saying, if God is with you, you would have something. But here's a man that, I'm 63. This man been working for black folk longer than I've been alive. So I support him, and others in another nation support him, because he delivers exactly what you said. Re-education, if you're willing to pick it up. But if a man offers you supreme wisdom, but you don't like it, but it's working for him, it's working for those who follow him. If you follow the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, your economic condition will change. Or you're not following him. Why? One, he tell you give up drugs and alcohol, saving money. Give up cigarettes, saving money. Give up pork, saving money. Give up your girlfriend and your boyfriend, saving money. Give up red meat, saving money and your life. Right? Be frugal with your spending. Don't be a consumer. Create your own economy. Come into unity with your own people. Stop trying to impress people. Believe in the innate power of God within you. We don't believe in no mystery God. We don't believe that Jesus is going to fix it all and I ain't got to do nothing. And this is our history. Bringing brothers and sisters out of prison. We didn't send them there. And I want to be clear on that. We're out here solving problems that we didn't create. The Bible says, right, that the good shepherd is worthy of his keep. So there's been no better shepherd in my life and in the lives of Black America from my perspective than the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. We have an entrepreneurial class. We have children that we're teaching not to be basketball players. We're teaching to be scientists and lawyers and diplomats and writers and everything that we need to serve not the white man, but our people. That's why we're progressing. And we're working together in unity, so certainly we want to work harder. We want to work bigger. We want to work better. Right? We got a history of saying respect and protect the Black woman. That ain't come out of nowhere. We got a history of producing upstanding Black men. That ain't come out of nowhere. So I'm just talking about what the minister does. And there are many pastors that do the same thing. So I suggest to everybody in our listening audience, if you find somebody that's doing the work that you appreciate, support them.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. And very important. And I think, you know, even for people who may not be open to the nation and the wonderful history that it's provided, it provides an example that I think deserves replication. Because what the nation has done has developed a culture and some sacred values. And people think when you talk about something being sacred that you're talking about it being religious or spiritual. Not necessarily. It's just things that are very important and indispensable to you, things that you can't compromise on. And so when you talk about certain populations of people, some have thrived because they have a culture. That culture doesn't necessarily have to go back all the way to you. You can create a culture anytime and build it around things that are sacred to you. You know, replicate that with the nation. You can be an agnostic. You can be an atheist. And you can still have things that are sacred to you and build around those things in a collective manner. But what Brother was just talking about is the nation is built around certain values that collectively people buy into and support one another to uphold. And that's what I think Black people have to do. Because, you know, you said something important. You're not training young men to be basketball players. Because if you really break it down, okay, we live in a country that's so sick, that's so backwards. It values basketball players more than it values its teachers. Who's most important? The people that are entrusted with the mental, intellectual development of your children or athletes? In this country where everything is, you know, measured by money, they tell you it's the athletes. And we, unfortunately, because we don't rally around things that are sacred to us, we've been given a fantastical culture to buy into. We have submitted to the idea that all we really good for is to serve and entertain. And we got to get out of that. Because when you break it all down, a basketball player is an entertainer. A football player is an entertainer.
Right.
A singer, entertainer. Dancer, entertainer. Beyonce is an entertainer. And if you're talking about the history of black people and our political possibilities, come on, man. As W.B. Du Bois said to Congress, years ago, back in the 50s, he said, you want to talk about, race in this country, but you call a baseball player in to testify. You're not serious.
Right.
Du Bois said it to him. You're not serious, right?
Right.
You're not serious. And so the nation has a culture. Think what you will about the nation. Think what you will about Minister Farrakhan. Think what you will about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. It built a culture within which people can thrive. And so,
Doctor, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, that's it, brother. That's it.
I certainly don't ever want to cut you off. I want to say something, brothers and sisters. We're not the only one doing this work.
No,
there's some good pastors out here. Well, it's some that ain't so good. Okay, what are you going to do about that? Are you going to support the good pastor and show people where to go? Are you going to do that? Because look, man, I done spent thousands of dollars in 37 years. You're real clear on that. Supporting the Nation of Islam, supporting my minister, and supporting my community. I'm talking about me, Naba'a Muhammad, then spent thousands of dollars in South Shore. And I got the pictures to prove it. I ain't got the receipts no more because it's been a minute. But my point is, what are we willing to do? Whatever you believe in. And we can ask the question, but how are we going to answer the question, and how are we going to change reality? And I love the minister. This man, by Allah's grace, has made me who I am because he built on a foundation my grandmother and mother laid. Enhanced my life, made me a better father. I got 6 children. All of them know their daddy and love them because their father been there for them, regardless to whom or what. Divorce or whatever, daddy ain't never left them. And so my point, brothers and sisters, is this. What are we going to do? If you see a problem, you can point it out. But don't you have a right to vote politicians in and out? You going to organize for that? How about you just start with your local alderman? How about you go to your local school council and get involved there and put some people in that local school council that's going to look out for black children in that school? How about that? That's an elected position here in Chicago.
Yes, sir.
So I guess my point is, we got the power to change reality. But you can be a good parent, raise your child right, tell them what to do, and if they decide to go contrary, guess what? They're going contrary. And then when their life goes wrong because they went contrary, that's because of a choice they made. So I'm simply saying, black people, you got choices to make.
That's right.
You got choices to make, and you can choose whatever choice you want.
Brother Naba'a, I wanted to ask Dr. Ricky this question. He said it in the first hour. I wrote this down. You talked about feeling the warm embrace of black love. And how can we begin to make our people feel tender towards one another in 2025 when we're going to need each other's warm embrace? Can you talk about that? Dr. Rick.
Brother Rick, you need to unmute yourself, or you still there? Oh Lord, have mercy. Okay. We're gonna try to wait for him to call back. I hope, but
yes, sir.
You know, brothers and sisters, what he said about education, and this as an educational project, I really appreciate that because I'm going to try to keep that in mind with what we do. Mm-hmm. That's why we said when we started this program, we want more light than heat.
Yeah.
So we you don't have to agree with us, and we can disagree and not be disagreeable. But I think there's so much that we do agree on. There's so much that we do agree on, and I want to get back to something. Let's bring the doctor on back. That's what we want. Brother Doctor.
Hey, Doc.
Yeah, I got disconnected from you for a minute, but I'm back.
All right. Well, we'll tell the FBI to go to bed, man. We only got 10 minutes. Leave us alone. We only got 10 minutes, man. We got 10 minutes. Go ahead, Brother BJ.
Yeah. So, Dr. Rick, before you hung up, you said something at the top of the hour when you first got on. You talked about black people. We need to feel the warm embrace of black love.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on re-educating ourselves as far as being warm, inviting, and tender with each other, as we're going to definitely need each other in 2025 with what's coming? What are your thoughts on that?
You know, brother, look, I mean this from the bottom of my heart. I think y'all are doing this. I think y'all are doing that right now, you know, and I know, you know, a good friend of mine, a very old friend of mine here, has been affiliated with the nation here in Louisville, Brother Gerald Muhammad, and you know, we've been friends, man, coming up on 30 years, and he's always been open and loving, you know. And so much so, and I wear bow ties a lot half the time, and I don't disabuse them of the notion. And hard I probably am.
Yes, sir.
But I sincerely believe as we come to a close here, and I'm happy I have a little bit of time to tell y'all this. You know, there's a brother in this city, Dr. John Marshall, who is the chief equity officer over at the public school system. And he was asked, where do black people go from here? And he said, the first thing that you got to understand that there's a good percentage of white people here who don't care anything about your well-being.
Wow.
You and I both know that's the truth.
Yeah.
And white brothers and sisters, especially those who are concerned about our well-being, need to know that that's the truth, that they are in the minority. When you had right out a dozen white Republican legislators come together, signed an official document, put out an official document demanding that John Marshall resign or be fired.
Man.
Now, and this is important, I used to do a weekly spot on an iHeart radio show here in Louisville on WHAS AM. I want to put out the call letters on WHAS AM. Every Thursday at 5 o'clock. We used to do it during drive time on the Terry Minor Show. And Terry's a white guy, considered a cool guy. He's a friend. I supported John Marshall and said that the people that were calling for his job were white supremacists, and because of that, they banned me from the station. They banned me, okay? But when you talk about black love, there have been brothers, you know, reaching out from Philly. You know, I've spoken to them on their station. You all reached out and you didn't even know about that. But you just saw something, right? You saw a little black boy from the housing projects of Atlanta, raised by his grandmother who couldn't read, in Louisville, Kentucky, that birthed a brave black man, birthed Muhammad Ali, but they don't have the spirit of Ali. They're not brave. They're not courageous. They care nothing about black folk. You know, and you saw me here basically by myself and said, how is one, what's wrong with this brother saying this? And two, he needs some support. That's black love, right? And so when you reach out and say, hey, come on this show with us, spend a little time together. I think y'all knew. You in Kentucky, man, we know you lonely, so spend some time with us. So I appreciate y'all for that. I love y'all for that. I did not do you a favor tonight by spending time with you. You did me a favor by spending time with me. And the more we spend that time with one another and support one another as others shun us, the more we will value one another and understand that the ones that need embracing and should be embraced will quite often, if not always, be shunned by the other side. And the more we model that, I think the better we'll be. So I love you, brothers, for reaching out. And I've never laid eyes on you physically, but I love you. And when I do lay eyes on you, and I will, I'm going to hug you till you can't breathe.
Go ahead. I love it. That's what we want, brother.
Yeah.
That's what we want. Hey, look, we got to learn how to not be ashamed to love each other, brother. I mean, I'm excited about this year. And what we're hearing, God is moving and bringing people together with His Spirit, and we're gonna make a difference. So we appreciate you coming on, brother. We love you like you love us, brother. And you know it's the Spirit that's bringing us together because we hear it. It's coming through the airwaves. The Spirit is touching people. They calling in, brother, and we just got to keep doing the will of Almighty God.
Yeah, because that's the beauty of this moment, right, brothers? That's the beauty of this moment. We see that the other side is being more and more brazenly aggressive. They've always been aggressive, but they're more brazenly aggressive. And that's why you're seeing a retreat, I think, of black people across professions, across regions, across these silly, fantastical, mythical political parties, across class. We are retreating from that for a minute and reaching out to one another, because we understand that we are under attack because we are us and we are all that we have to try to figure out a way through this maze that we're in. That is the possibility of this moment, that we understand exactly what we're facing because it's so nastily obvious that these people can't even hide it no more. And it ain't about shaming them to some degree, because how can you shame people who have no shame? You know, how can you have a moral conversation with a moral monster, as James Baldwin called it? And so this is where we are. And I know we're out of time, but brother, anytime y'all need me to spend some time with you, please let me know. You know, it could be 12 noon, 12 midnight. It don't matter. I'll be there.
Praise God. So Dr. Ricky L. Jones, tell everybody how they can contact you.
You can contact me by email, ricky.jones, no E, rcky.jones @louisville.edu. You can follow me on all the little silly social media platforms before they shut them down. TikTok, the Twitter or X, whatever they call it, Facebook, all of that stuff. I'm all over the place, man. Just, reach it. Just do a web browser. I'll come up.
Yes, you know, I'm going to go over, Brother BJ. I'm going to go over. Brother Ricky. I'm going to go over, man. They always man. Brother Ricky. Let us know. You mentioned some other groups. We're down for doing whatever we can collaboratively at any time.
Well, you brothers certainly know how to get in contact with me. I certainly look forward to working with you. I have, friends and family in Chicago. My daughter is thinking about coming to school there. And so if that happens, I might be a neighbor. You never know. I might be in one of y'all's basement, right?
Hey, man, we get you a bean pie. You be all right. Thank you, my brother. Assalamu alaikum.
Hey, I like bean pie.
I know you do. Thank you, brother.
All right, brother.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, brother.
We've been blessed.
Assalamu alaikum.
All right. We've been blessed. We've been blessed. So go to our website, brothers and sisters. If you want to keep this type of talk on the radio, we need your support in 2025. Straightwords.com, straightwords.com. Go to the website, and you'll see all the information that you can make a donation tonight before you go to bed. And tell your friends about Straight Words. We'll be back on via the will of Almighty God next Tuesday, 9 p.m. Central, right here on WVON. We want to thank our producer, Brother Deontay in Chicago in the WVON studios, and the great sister Jeanette in Charlotte, North Carolina. And she actually made this happen with Dr. Ricky tonight. So we appreciate all